5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down reality TV's most talked about moments with Amanda Bella. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bella Talks TV. It's Amanda Bella here, and you are joining me on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. I am back in the studio, and by the studio, aka I mean our Florida apartment. We are finishing out our final month of being snowbirds down here. And again, if you've been here following me for a while, you know that we move around a lot, and we are based in New York, but we have been in Vegas, in Florida, in Costa Rica, and above and beyond the last couple of weeks. We've had company here visiting us from Michigan. If you're seeing me on my YouTube video, you're seeing my Detroit vs. Everybody sweatshirt, the official merch that was gifted to me from one of my besties that came to visit me last week, which is why I'm a little bit late putting out an episode. And actually, I recorded with my girl Rhea Hensler. I'm always giving her shout outs. Coffee Meets Vodka is the podcast. I recorded with her when I was in Vegas, and we did a really fun episode where we went back and forth a lot about the Craig drama. We talked a lot about Traitors, but we had some problems with the audio. So we are working on getting that out to all of you guys. I will keep you posted when that is a go, but I just feel like I already vented so much about that. We're going to touch a little bit on that today, but we're back to a true return to form episode this week. We're doing my top 5 countdown. I've got my OMG and LOL of the week. We've got a lot to get into, so I'm going to try not to make this a 2-hour episode like my last one. I'm going to try to get you guys in and out a little bit swiftly, but you're joining us on a big Bravo news day, okay? I woke up, and I'm always keeping it 1,000 with you guys, so I'm always keeping it real. I woke up this morning, and, you know, I'm not usually a wake up and scroller, but I haven't slept well because we had company, and it's been like a few days since I really just had a night to sleep in. So I woke up this morning, and I was like, let me just lay here for 45 minutes and do a little early morning scrolling. And I was one of the first people, I think, to see some of the breaking news about Lindsay Hubbard, some of the rumors going on. And, there were just a lot of things started popping up right away. And I just knew I had to get on the mic again today. I really had to not force myself. You guys know that I love to podcast, but I really could have used a rest day, but there's no rest for the wicked. Okay. Bravo News does not rest. So here I am. Candy and I are here, and we're going to break it all down for you, because I just went on a rant on my page, because what else do I do? Because, I really started this platform. I started this page, this podcast, all of this to be able to give my authentic opinions. And I always promised myself, as a people pleaser, naturally, somebody who grew up, I always like to talk about my family a little bit too, and kind of just what makes you tick. And, my sister is a lot like Lindsay, and it's a lot like Uba, these people that just, you say something, you get a reaction, there's a trigger. And I grew up kind of not having a big voice, because I never wanted to get reactions. I never wanted to say my opinions about things. I kind of just always was quiet. And it took me a really long time to be able to say things and be okay, that's okay if not everybody likes me. That's okay if they do have a bad reaction. That's okay if they don't agree with me. Doesn't mean that they're going to disown me or not ever speak to me again. And I hope that you guys are also true like that. I hope that you can also just have an open mind and listen to other perspectives. And then also just internally not take these things personally, because something about the Bravo fandom and these people and just reality TV in general, we tend to take it so personally. If I say something about someone and they're your favorite, it's you think I'm saying it about you, and I'm not. I don't even know you. I mean, for the most part, I do have a really good rapport with a lot of my followers and friends, my Bellas. But I personally don't know. So I don't know if I do say something that offends you. I am sorry. But I really am just trying to give my own personal insight. And I think it's really important that we don't all coddle each other and just say things that we're going to always agree with, or pander to likes and comments, or just repeat and regurgitate what everybody else is saying. Yeah, Paige and it's oh my God, if I see one more person say that you are misogynistic, if you don't support Paige, that you hate all women, you guys, you got to learn. Just because you dislike a woman does not mean you hate all women and you're misogynistic and you're it's just not how the world works. So we got to have that nuance and that discernment to realize that there's gray, two truths can be right at the same time. Like, everybody calm down. Like, I posted the Ramona gif yesterday. Like, I was like me to myself, take a Xanax, calm down, because we all get so worked up in this world. So my little intro for the day, again, if this is your first time here, I do reality TV's most talked about moments of the week. We do Bachelor, Bravo, Kardashians, a little bit of Teen Mom, sometimes Married at First Sight. We'll be talking about a little bit of everything today. So not just Bravo. So let's just get right into it. Okay. My OMG moment of the week. There are all these moments that we cannot believe our eyes, right? Like, reality TV is so unbelievable, and why people always think it's scripted, because there are just moments that you're like, wow, that person would never normally do that in real life, or that person must totally be acting for the cameras. But then there are people that you have to be like, okay, is this really like who they are on the inside? Like, where do they leave the character at the door and represent themselves as who they really are? And The Traitors is a really interesting show for that, because we're seeing a lot of the discourse at the roundtables about personality changes, and that person was acting this way before and now they're acting this way, or they're very quiet so they must be a traitor, or they're very aggressive so they must be a traitor. And there's kind of a lot of this idea that people have to have a certain personality to be able to play these games. And it is a very interesting and ongoing conversation. We're only, 6 episodes into The Traitors, and I'm just noticing a theme, right? Like, and especially because these people's reputations precede them before they come onto the show. So if we are seeing somebody who we've seen to be a certain way for seasons and seasons and seasons, and then they come into the castle and they're acting different, it is confusing. It's like, okay, who are they? The person that they are here? Are they the person that they are on the show? Is it editing? Is it like they lean into their character type? Like, where is it? And I think it's all true. It's all like a spectrum. It's all really who they are, and it's all really like played up also. It's, again, all these things can be true at the same time. But Wes had my jaw on the floor. His performance in The Traitors has been, I think, to him, probably very disappointing and a little bit humbling, because, again, this is this man that has gone on and on about being the smartest game player, the most aggressive game player, the most winningest game player, somebody who has won the most money out of all of the reality TV competition shows. And nobody really knows if any of that is actually true. We know that Wes actually likes to lie, and he kind of leans into being a little bit of a liar. One of his most famous lies that he peddles is that he's a member of Mensa, because he wants people to think that he has a very high IQ and that he's kind of like some kind of wild genius. And that's just not true. He's admitted, that's very fake. And one way we know that he's not a member of Mensa is because when they do these really cool exit interviews. They are on I think it's the Peacock YouTube channel for Traitors. Check that out. I will try to link it in the description here, because I see people posting these really fun videos of when traitors are being eliminated, or not necessarily traitors, but people from the show, players are being eliminated. And then they do these fun reveal videos of them finding out who the traitors were while they were there. And Wes, if you guys, spoilers, there's going to be a new episode tonight. It's been 7 days. Like, I'm sorry if you're getting spoilers, but it's been 7 days. But Wes was most recently banished in the last episode, and he sits down to do his little interview. Or he's doing them with Bob Harper too, who was also murdered. So Bob Harper and Wes were both eliminated on the last episode. And I like their little friendship, though. They have like a cute little bantership. It seems like everybody really likes Bob Harper in general. No one really ever says anything bad about him, which I think is really cool. But they're sitting there and they're kind of playing a little game. And Wes can't even spell caviar right. Like, Bob has to be like, it's CAVIAR, not ER. And Wes is like, no, that's one of my pet peeves. I hate when I try to correct somebody, or if somebody asks me for hey, how do you spell Detroit? And I'm like, DETROIT. And they say, are you sure? Bitch, if I wasn't sure, I would say, I'm not sure. Let's Google it. I wouldn't just guess. I hate when people say, are you sure? Or when they're like, I think, or they try to combat you and say, you came to me to ask me how to spell it. It will send me to to the moon. So with Wes, he's funny, he's whatever. People are like Zaddy, Beard Daddy, all this stuff. But I cannot handle the fact that he was banished from the table, right? Everyone's going around and Rob has his one play, right? Like he is strategic. He sees 10 steps ahead where a lot of these other players are in the moment. They're only thinking through the night, through the next day. He's probably got this whole game mapped out. He is the godfather of reality TV competition shows pretty much. And so Wes going up against Rob was like, this is really a meeting of the minds and a true battle. It's the guy who says he's the best and the guy that actually is the best. So who's going to come out on top? And, Wes starts to take his shot at Rob and Rob just immediately spins it back on him. Like, well, why would I do this? And why would I do that? And he's kind of giving his reasons. And you can see how around the rest of the table, people are really, they hadn't fully been convinced yet. So a lot of people went into this most recent round table thinking like, okay, I'm going to be pretty open to like hearing whatever people have to say. So this is a very influential time where people have to really like make their marks strong. And you can just tell like the argument is falling apart because Wes isn't used to being challenged. He's used to being the leader that everyone listens to, the alpha, and he's used to kind of running the show. So to have somebody as intimidating as Rob, who is an equal match, truly stand up to him and use logic and reasoning and strategy against this guy instead of lies, which don't even get me started because on last season of House of Villains, Wes cheated to win the game and lied. He still didn't win, which was great. But now he's lost these last 2 seasons of him trying to go on these shows. And I think his like little reputation is crumbling. But anyways, Rob is really coming for him and kind of saying like, well, why would I do this? And why would you do that? And like, I think you're a traitor. Like you're acting like this. And it just takes one person to agree with you. Just little Gabby, little Sierra, somebody to be like, actually, Wes, like that is so weird that you do that. Like, can you explain that? And he's just such a talk about misogynistic. I mean, you guys think I am misogynistic. Like, why don't we all point some fingers at Wes? He just cannot handle the fact that the women are turning on him, that they are bringing up valid points. Like, they don't like the way that they're being spoke to by him. And he kind of like, retreats for a second. And he's like, you guys, okay, if you vote for me, I promise I will really scale back on the aggressiveness. I will not play like such a hard game with you. I will do more of a teamwork situation and not be trying to be so alpha. But if you do not vote for me, I am coming for you. And he just continues to bury himself. Like he can't help himself. He foams at the mouth at the idea of being able to like have control over people in these games. And this is a game where he is an equal. Like he's a faithful with whatever 16 other people. Like he's got to learn to kind of work as a team and not just like dominate over everybody. And as soon as he said that, it just all went downhill from there. All the women were like, absolutely fucking not. You are not going to come for us. What does that even mean? And then the other men too, like they have alliances with some of the girls and they don't want to, it was a really kind of, it got a little bit split towards the end of the votes. But Wes was ultimately banished. And it was so satisfying. Like, I know whatever, like, I don't try to be contrarian, but I just realize I don't think like most people. Like, his ginger beard does nothing for me. So I'm not sitting there being like, oh my God, Zaddy's gone. Like, no, it's just not for me. And he walking up to that circle of truth to this man who like truly cannot handle not telling a lie in like any situation, standing up there and going on about, I am the best of and you're all making, and then he says, fuck off at the end. And he's like, fuck all y'all, and walks away and gives him the bird, flips him the bird. And my jaw probably not only hit the floor, but went all the way 6 stories down to the parking lot. I have never seen the disrespect. Like, this is y'all's hero. This is the man that everybody... if Boston Rob did that, like I would call him out and flip on him so freaking fast. Like you don't tell people that don't agree with you to fuck off. Like, do you know how much I would love to go in my comments right now and go on my page and be like, if you don't agree with me, you all can just fuck off. Like, it's just not how human behavior works. Like, you can't just like shun everybody that doesn't agree with you, that doesn't like eat up your life. You kind of have to have a little bit of that, patience with yourself and patience with people and self-awareness to be like, okay, they didn't agree with me. I maybe failed at the scheme a little bit. I came in unprepared, like whatever the reason, to not just always be flipping it on the other person. Like that is just a big ick to me. So I loved that. That was my OMG moment of the week. I cannot believe that he did that still. I'm so glad that he's gone. And I don't think Boston Rob's going to be like in that much longer. Like I would truly be shocked. The only way that he's going to be able to like fly under the radar tonight is if Danielle and Carolyn are such a mess that that people just, they get exposed. Then Rob recruits maybe Derek, or, is Derek going to be like the Peter pal? Like, is he going to be like somebody who turns down the recruitment because he's just so faithful? Curious to see how tonight all plays out. So we will have to wait and see. I'm drinking a pineapple spirulina kombucha. I mean, I'm really on a health journey today. And I'm also PMSing, which God bless America. Like this is why I'm really on one today, but I cannot help it. And I'm having some nerds because, if you can't have a little bit of balance, you guys will know I will never do an ad for this show. Well, I guess never say never, but I will never do an ad for this show. This is a free show for your entertainment. I'm not here to make any money. I'm not here to get a job. I'm not here to have Bravo celebrities be my friends. I'm not here to be a Bravo celebrity. I don't ever want to go on television. And we'll get into that actually a little bit later in the countdown. But this show is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters and pineapple spirulina kombucha. I love you, Bellas. Seriously, thank you all for being here and giving me like this tiny platform. It honestly means the absolute world to me. So let's move on to my LOL moment of the week. It's a short one. It's a short one because I cannot believe that this show is back. The comments are looking bleak. I think I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory about, but we're going to get into the new season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians on Hulu. The episode 1 of season 6 premiered yesterday. It dropped like a silent night. Nobody cared. And I'm taking one for the team to report back to you guys like any major points that happened this season. And my takeaway from episode 1 is that Kourtney is still my favorite. She is. Her and her just lackluster personality, her inability to even contain the disdain she has for Kim. You know what? I will say I personally think she's the best mom out of all of them. I think her and Travis actually are really in love, and I appreciate that and them sharing that with them. Their wedding in Italy was one of my favorite episode specials. None of them are perfect, but Kourtney, I think to me is the least problematic and the most authentic because she truly does not care if anybody likes her. And that is inspirational to me. It is because she talks about turning 45 in her most recent episode. I'm going to be turning 38 this summer. And I get it. I am done. I am so done caring if people like me, if people hate me, if people agree with me, if people want to be my friend. It's just like, take it or leave it. I really have gotten to this like place in my life that I'm just so happy and so fulfilled that I don't need more of any of that. So all I have time for is authenticity and real friendships and real supporters and real, just the realness. So one thing I really enjoyed that had me laughing out loud this episode was Kourtney goes on to talk about her goals, right? She's like, okay, I'm 45. Like, what are my goals of the year? And one of her goals was to, instead of saying, yeah, she's going to start saying yes more and enunciating the word. Because I think she's always just like, yeah. And I think she watches it back and she's just like, woof. Like, okay, I do kind of always sound like a little bit just like that vocal fry, like a little Stony Baloney. We know that she's not, but she's got that California accent, that Calabasas accent. But then she goes on to say that she tells the producers every season that they need to edit the likes out. She says like so much. And she'll be like, yeah, like I told like that they need to like go like to the store like, yeah, like. And although I find that endearing, I think it's really funny that she hates that about herself and that she's very real about that. And she wants to kind of like spruce up the vocab and maybe fine tune her communication skills a little bit in the year of her 45th year. And one part, going back to my little conspiracy, is that I'm seeing a lot of rumors online that the Kardashians pay for this show to be done themselves. That they pretty much had a contract with Hulu, I believe, for 5 years, certain amount of episodes. Could have even been 4 or something. But they were so afraid that if the show disappeared and it didn't get picked up by anybody else, like Hulu was like, okay, we give you your 5 seasons. It was a big flop. Literally nothing happens. Everybody's sick of the wealth. It's just like not the time in America. Like, read the room. And they were so scared of letting the relevancy go of being on TV, et cetera, that they were like, okay, like we're just going to pay for the show ourselves. We'll pay for the production. We'll pay for everything that goes on with this. It's basically like just at this point, advertising and marketing for them and all of their jobs and careers and products and et cetera. So I think that they probably downside the staff, maybe cut down the amount of episodes they film. Maybe they only have like 2 camera guys or whatever that follow them everywhere. And there was almost to no, they just use free social media like to promote the show, which everybody can do. They shot like 1 promo video and they put it on social media, and that's like been the only advertising. That's why nobody watches it. Nobody really cares anymore. I mean, besides the fact that they're just like not relevant any longer really in this type of world anymore. There was ever a time for people to like not want to see them drinking a $12,000 bottle of wine on the first episode. I mean, I love my wine, but it's just like not now, Kendall. Okay. All right. Not now. So I just think that's really interesting that rumor's been going around that they're paying for the show themselves and that they just want to continue to be on TV. And, they pay to get Chloe to be the reality TV star of the year every year for the People's Choice Awards. So how can Chloe win her little award every year if she's not on there? It just is like a ecosystem that is self-fulfilling itself. It's self-fulfilling prophecy at this point. So I just thought that was really funny and real about Kourtney, and the way that editors, like when Kourtney was like, yeah, I make the editors every season take out all my likes. That's something that like to me was like a red flag. I'm like, okay, like you don't usually have that type of control over the editing. And I just thought that was really funny. It was a little LOL moment for me of the week because I love my little Court. And I mean, to be honest, nothing really else happened in this entire first episode. Kim is still working on prison reform. I mean, I really can't say anything bad about that. So I'm going to just not. Chloe had a reunion with Lamar and he was sweating bullets, visibly uncomfortable, and pretty much did not want to be on camera. And I think that they're just like they forced him to have a reunion with her. Chloe has not seen Lamar since the day she kicked him out of their home in 2016. So to me, if you're going to see this man whose entire life was exposed, I mean, of course, like I'm not going to ever take away the fact that he led to the actions of his own demise. Like nobody forced him to go to that brothel in Las Vegas and basically have a stroke. I mean, that was like a very horrible day. I'll never forget that. I did feel so bad for Chloe. And I do believe that she was potentially like the love of his life. And I think that entire situation has truly traumatized her and why she's never been with anybody since. I mean, well, Tristan, oh my God. Talk about a bad picker. But she talks about wanting to date again and her saying like, hey, I'm turning 40. Like I freaking hope that I'm going to find somebody still. And I hope she does too. I really wish Chloe the best of luck. But I really didn't like that they forced Lamar to come on screen. Like they basically had a bunch of personal family heirlooms and stuff that Chloe still had. And she was like, yeah, well, if you want them, like you got to come film with me. Not cool, but also it is a reality TV show. It was a very real moment. And for that, I have to say, like, I'm glad it was shared. I was happy to see that reunion. And it continues next episode. So they kind of left it on like a little bit of a cliffhanger. So alrighty. So that was my OMG and LOL moments of the week. A little bit of Traitors, a little bit of Kardashians. Let's take a quick break and then we'll go over my top 5 countdown of the week. Okay, people, welcome back to Bella Talks TV. Let's get into my top 5 most talked about reality TV moments of the week. Starting in at number 5, we had the Real Housewives of Potomac finale / reunion trailer, because the reunion doesn't come out until next Sunday, not this upcoming Sunday, because of the Super Bowl, which I'm like, this is my Super Bowl. Bravo. Like, what are we doing? Now, I've never been scared about being honest about not being a Swiftie and not being a Beyonce fan. And again, I'm sorry, I was just born this way. I'm a Lady Gaga fan. I'm a Charlie XCX fan. I don't want to hear that, like, I don't like just support women. I love women artists. I can name 5,000 other ones right now, but I won't because I think that's freaking ridiculous. Like, just because you don't like one person doesn't mean you don't like all women artists or something. So we've got to really stop that narrative. But this is my Super Bowl and I am freaking dying for the reunion. But let's just talk about the finale really fast because I thought it was really good. And I thought it was actually the best episode of the whole season. I loved it. So in this finale episode, we're getting a little bit of the Karen stuff going on with her and her court date. We see her getting sentenced and going off to court. And we all know how that ended up. You know, Karen was found guilty and she's facing up to 2 years in jail. And this is not her first offense of DUI-ness. And I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it, but it's not her first offense, but she still like really is the grande dame. And this show really it doesn't necessarily need her, but to me, she is so essential. The show doesn't have the iconic casting. Like, is Giselle supposed to then? I don't know. Like, I'm unsure what's really going to happen. Now, Robin was on this most recent episode or season of Traitors, as we know. She was on Watch What Happens Live with Giselle, and I thought it was a horrible appearance. I thought that it did not make me like her or like need her back on my screen whatsoever. Like, I just don't think that she is in any way like TV. I just don't think she's like TV material. She still denies things. She still isn't open and honest about her real life. I mean, she's just not, I don't know. I just don't get it. So it's just going to be a no for me. So if they're not going to bring Karen back or Karen decides not to come back or whatever happens, we're going to have to wait and see. But then it will be Giselle left there to be the grande dame. And they did reveal, though, because when Karen was in the DUI footage, she was like, you know, drunk and talking to the police officer. And she was like, I'm a grande dame. Andy Cohen named me that. I'm not really sure why, but he did. And that's what everybody calls me. And Andy, when he was on Watch What Happens Live, he corrected that. And he said Giselle is actually the one that came up with that. And it is true. In Giselle's casting tape, when they were casting the show, she brought up Karen. Karen's kind of like the grande dame of Potomac. They had kind of already heard this. There were some rumors that Charisse, you know, who goes back to season 1 and she's kind of like a loose friend of the franchise, that she used to call herself the grande dame. So did Giselle take that from Charisse to use on Karen? Because, you know, who knows? Who really knows? But I'm glad that was cleared up a little bit. I thought that was funny that Andy was like, I actually didn't name her that. And then I just wanted to set the record straight. So that was really good. Now we're going to have to see, because again, it leaves us, okay, so we have Karen and Giselle. I actually love Wendy. I think Wendy had a great season. She just turned 40 also. I mean, not that I'm only going to be 38 this summer. I don't want to push it, but I just, again, I'm appreciating women in their 40s, people coming into that decade of their life, and people, you know, really like living out loud about it. And so many people saying, oh yeah, and Chloe also just turned 40. Like, there's just these, like, there's a lot of strong, amazing women turning 40 that like, I'm like, wow, okay, like this is making me feel better. This is really making me feel better. So I think just this idea that we have Karen, Giselle, Wendy, Mia, I am really not sure what's going to happen with her. She's kind of like the Brynn of RHONY, where like she's just always lying and everyone's sick of her shit, and she manipulates storylines for the show, and then off screen she lives a totally different life, and I'm just not here for that. I'm not really sure if she's going to either be like A, not asked back, or B, if she's just going to like leave on her own. I don't think that she actually would leave. I think that she's somebody who probably like loves being a housewife, loves having this platform, loves being on TV. I mean, I heard that she like lives in North Carolina and doesn't even live in Potomac, but that is neither here nor there. I mean, I don't understand why. I think casting just must be very hard, and I don't understand why they allow people that don't live in these cities, and why they don't just cast real groups of friends. Like, it's really hard for me why I don't get it sometimes, but I think that she will be asked back. I don't think that she did anything that was like totally diabolical. I think that she did say some weird lies. Most of the lies were on her own family and on herself, and not so much on other people's. So I don't think that she's done anything like totally unforgivable. I think people are just sick of her lying. So I actually think that she'll be back as long as she's able to live out loud. Her producers really work with her to like tell her true story, and hopefully she will really bring it next year because I think that she will be back. And then we have the Ashley Darby, of course. I mean, Ashley Darby's season was interesting. Now, I will give props to her because she and Michael have finalized their divorce. They divorced. I was just talking shit last week about how people are complaining Dorit's not divorced yet. This shit takes time. So I don't think Erica's divorced. I mean, I could really go, don't get me started. Do not get me started because there's tons of people that have filed, separated, whatever, and are not divorced yet or not divorced in one season. It's just not that easy. And Ashley, as skeptical as I was that she was never going to leave this man and basically pull an Erica Girardi where she just stays married to him forever or until Michael dies, pretty much, I am really proud of her. She did it. She finalized it. She stood up for herself, her family. She got the things that she needed. And on Watch What Happens Live, Ira Madison III, who I like, I'm sorry, you guys, it's really no shade to him. I think that he's lovely and whatever. I hate these thirsty content creators that come on there and like think they're going to have a moment, think they're going to like say something or like ask some kind of like really shady question. It's like, just get on there and say, thanks for having me on, Andy. Like, why do we have to do this? So he's like, oh yeah, I'm a huge Green Eyed Bandits fan, which like said no one ever. And he, like, I am a Green Eyed Bandit today. Like, if you're on the YouTube, like, I have this sweatshirt on and it's really making these green eyes pop. So I am a Green Eyed Bandit today. But he's like, yeah, I'm a big Green Eyed Bandit fan. And like, I have a question for you guys. Now, this is not a question for them. This is not a question having to do with, again, of course, Robin, because she brings nothing. And Giselle, quite honestly, does the same. So what questions is he going to ask them? His question is, what do you think of Ashley's divorce? And are you concerned that she's going to be broke now, pretty much? And Giselle, I have to say, I have to give some props to her. She has not been my favorite, but I think that she too, maybe her and Ashley, like, you know, have a pretty decent friendship now. She really like stood up for her in this moment. And she was like, I don't think anybody needs to be worrying about Ashley. She goes, Ashley has more money than everybody in this room except for Andy. And that just gagged him. And I loved it. I loved it. Like, Ira, no filter with Zach, up and Adam. I've just had like enough of these diabolical gays. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. That come on these shows. They think they know what it's like to be a woman, to be a single mom, it's like, you don't know. You just don't know. Everybody, it's like, okay for men or whatever to comment on all these relationships and stuff. It's like, I don't know. I am an ally. I love my gay. I mean, I can, for every 3 that I say I don't like, I can name 500 that I do like. So again, like, don't try that with me. But I just don't like, specifically, I think Up and Adam and Zach Peters like really rub me wrong the way that they speak on everybody and speak on everybody's husbands and speak on everybody. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes it does come different when it's coming from a woman because it's a little bit more of a perspective there. And I just did not like the way that he was like trying to come for Ashley. And I'm so glad Giselle stood up for her. And can we leave that in 2024? Can we just like leave the idea that like you're going to spill tea or that you're going to gotcha. Like, can we freaking leave that in the past? I am like so sick of these like little moments that they think they're going to get like a clip for their social media or something. Like, give me a break. So yeah, he's just not my favorite. I think he really triggered me with the Green Eyed Bandits comment because it's like, that's the other thing. Can we also leave in 2024? I know it's like literally February 6th and I'm still talking about like New Year's resolutions. But can we also leave the Watch What Happens Live guests kissing whose ever ass is in the chair next to them? Who has the best fashion? It's got to be you. I love you. You're my favorite. It's like, can we stop that? Be freaking honest. Be like, you weren't really my favorite this season, but you know who I loved confessional looks with was so-and-so. I still love you and appreciate you, but this person has been my favorite. It's like, stop with the ass kissing. God bless America. Okay. All right. Let's move on. let's move on. So the last things I wanted to say were just about the newbies of Potomac. We had Kiarna, we had Stacy, and there's a theme going on with Bravo basically putting people on these shows, bringing on these friends of they're in the cast photos that are rumored to be, whatever. We had Jazzy on Potomac. We had Ryan and Rodrigo and whatever on Southern Charm. We had Maylee from Salt Lake City. These people are all missing in action. Why are they in the cast photo? Why are you making me care about these people? Why are we literally putting them in one scene and pretending that they're on the cast? Is it for just representation? Like, I don't understand why we're pretending that these people are like part of the cast. Like, they are irrelevant. They bring nothing. They're a waste of our time. What is going on? Is Bravo editing a lot on the back end? Like, is there a process? Is there a process a lot of like, okay, we're going to throw everything in the beginning at the wall and see what starts to stick. And then as things start to stick throughout the season, like we just going to start editing people out, taking scenes out. Like, I need to know what the purpose of this is, because it's like, quit giving me more people to think about and talk about and care about when they're not going to be around. So yeah, I am going to say that I enjoyed Kiarna. I think that they brought her back because she had gotten in that physical fight with Sesame Street. I cannot even remember her real name now. Ashley's friend that came on that looked crazy, and then they threw the bottles at each other at the GNA event in the last season's finale. I think that they brought her back on to kind of see how like all of that would play out. Deborah, that was her name. To see the Deborah Kiarna fallout. And then Kiarna talked a lot about that throughout the season. And I also want to say this is probably, again, these are the little times where people are like, oh yeah, there's a hint of misogyny in there, because I see a lot of discourse online always about people saying that if the husbands and the boyfriends do not support their girl doing the show, that they're evil, they're toxic, they don't support women, they don't whatever. And there has to be more of a realistic conversation around this, because I'm going to be honest, you guys, like, it's not like the best look to be on these shows. We have seen more divorces than couples that have stayed together. We have seen insane scandals, cheating. I don't know. There's just been a lot that goes on, right? And I have to really my honest opinion is that if you have to choose between your relationship and going on the show, and you choose to go on the show, then that is like fair and valid to the partner. Like, if tomorrow my husband came to me and said, I'm going to the summer house, do you think I'm supporting that? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean I don't love him. It means I have a freaking half brain, and I don't want to set my relationship up to fail. I don't want it to be exposed to everybody in America to critique. I also don't want my partner going and spending time in like what is kind of a toxic environment that they're going to bring home. I mean, Greg and Kiarna specifically, Kiarna went to a filming, right? She was in the filming and got into a physical fight with a person who broke a bottle over her head, who they then had to sue and go through a bunch of emotional turmoil over. And then when he says, I don't think it's really good that you're like hanging out with these girls, now he's the villain? I don't make it make sense to me. Like, I don't understand how everybody can then say, oh, he's like some piece of shit. Like, I understand that it's not really the most best environment. I mean, Kyle and Mauricio, for God's sake, couldn't even handle the pressure of Bravo. I don't think Greg and Kay are going to make it. So I think that is a really weird argument. I think that it's okay to be like, okay, whoa. And I think it makes for like interesting dynamics. Now, there are plenty of husbands that do support. We have Happy Eddie. Perfect example. We love this man. He supports his wife. He loves to be on camera. He gets a little bit messy. And at the Potomac reunion, we're going to see him get into the mix, because in the finale of the show, Stacy, the newbie, who we all love, is dating the weirdo TJ, who's a cornball, who they aren't physical. He's very aggressive to her. He speaks down to her. He's very controlling. We don't like this man. We do not like this man. And it's getting exposed every episode, little hot mic moments, little things that he wants to do. And then in this last episode, Stacy brings on her gay bestie, this guy, AJ. And he's keeping it all the way real with her. He's like, I don't like this guy. He's doing too much. He is always on 10. He seems like he plays things up. Like, he doesn't seem like he's treating you the right way. Like, talk about a real one. Now, if this guy was coming to her just being like, oh, yeah, like, no, we have to keep things real with our friends. We see it with JT telling Taylor over on Southern Charm, and we see on Southern Hospitality, Michaels and everybody telling Emmy, like, hey, your man is like not treating you good. Like, these are all dynamics that are real that we like to see on TV. Okay. We need these friends to be coming in and keeping it real, not just like going along with the narrative for everything. Now, in this finale or whatever, we see this all go down. And everybody's telling Stacey, like, it's just a no for me, dog. Like, we just don't think TJ's like going to be the first man that you should be with after you were just married for 16 years. You've never been single. Like, you should spend some time just being a mom, focusing on you. Like, why jump into another relationship, pretty much, which I think is all very good advice. Very, very good advice. Women who have never been alone scare me. And I just, you just cannot be that dependent. And it's like Brittany on Salt Lake City. Like, these people are just, they need some help. And so we have all of this stuff going on with Stacey and TJ. And then at the reunion, all of the men are backstage. And TJ doesn't show up to the reunion. And all of the other husbands are like, what the hell? Like, we came to support. Gordon is out here giving paternity tests. Like, these Potomac men they're there. They are on there to do it. I wish I would have saw more of the drama around Giselle's ex, Jamal, getting married, and, she beefs with the new wife and stuff. Like, I would love to see that on the show. But, Giselle doesn't show a bunch of her real life. She just talks about what everybody else is doing. And so in this reunion, all the men are backstage and they're like, let's call up TJ. Like, this man did not show up. Why? Let's call him and see why he couldn't come here and speak for himself and support his woman, right? So they call him and we don't know what is said. It has not been shown yet. And like I said, the reunion's not on for a week from Sunday. But he says something on camera. And I don't know if he didn't know that the phone call, like they FaceTime him. And I don't know if he didn't know he was being filmed. But he says something on camera. And then Eddie tells Wendy, like, yo, the craziest thing just happened. We called TJ and he said this. And it's very contradicting to what Stacey tells about what's going on with them. And Wendy pretty much is like, that's not what Eddie said. And then it looks like it gets exposed. And they're all like, bring Eddie out. Bring Eddie out. And they get Eddie out on the stage and he's going to obviously tell us like what TJ said about Stacey. But like, is it going to be that the relationship was fake? Is it going to be that like, what is going to come out? Like, I'm dying to know. So that's my number 5 most talked about moment of the week. I think Potomac is really ending on a high note. I don't see the show going anywhere. If Karen does not go to jail, then she will be back next season is my prediction. Now, all season, Karen was saying, I'm going to be vindicated. I'm going to be vindicated. You guys will see, right? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, the word on the street is that Karen wasn't actually driving the vehicle and that the rumored boyfriend who we've heard on and off about, I'm not sure if it's the same boyfriend than it was in the past. Karen seems to have some side men around Potomac. Maybe her and Ray have an open marriage. I kind of love that for her. Maybe Ray's like, you know what? I'm not taking the blue pill. Like, if you still got to go do things, you still got to go do things. And maybe they have an agreement. Obviously, Ray hasn't left her overall in any of these rumors and confrontations. He knows about them. He's been asked about them on many reunions by Andy, and he's still there. So maybe they actually just have an agreement. But because sometimes it's cheaper to keep her. I know that that's like a crazy thing to say, but sometimes these men like really do not get divorced because like, you know what? Like, we're friends, we're companions, we're maybe not in love anymore, but I'm not going to divorce them for whatever reason. They're the mothers of their children. They want to stay together for their family, but they just are like, let's just open it up. Open it up. You guys go live your life. And yeah, so the rumor is that this guy was driving the car. Karen wasn't driving the car, and that they were hoping somehow, some way the lawyers were going to be able to prove this and keep it from being exposed to the public. I'm unsure, but I do know that in that footage, when Ray shows up to the scene to help Karen out and she's incoherent and not able to speak, he opens up her purse to find her ID, and she had been throwing up in that purse, you guys. I'm sorry. This is just makes me unwell. Karen was definitely fucked up. I just don't know if she was driving that car. And is it still okay for, I mean, she still went to rehab. Like, is it still okay for her to be getting like in her triple 20s? Is that crazy? Maybe not. But if she wasn't driving the car, she wasn't driving the car. So she will be vindicated if this truth does come out and she somehow is able to admit. I mean, she's been able to push this court date for her sentencing out 1 month because she got a new lawyer. So we don't actually know what she's been sentenced to yet. But if this new lawyer is able to present any type of new evidence, or she gives some kind of confession or something, like, we could be looking at the Grand Dame getting vindicated. So we'll see. We will see. Okay, let's move on to my number 4 most talked about moment of the week. We have to get over to Married at First Sight because it's getting good, you guys. Like, we're at the couples retreat. We've made it through what has been a very slow season. They have been dragging out the rumors of the wife swap for weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, at this point, like 9 weeks, 10 weeks. We're all getting tired. We all want to know, was David texting Madison that she looks so good and he wants to eat her? Who was that for? Was it for Tiffany? Because remember, he said that he was Tinder Tiffany. Was it Tinder Tiffany? Or was it for Madison? And now I was really skeptical. This whole time have been able to avoid spoilers. There's Reddit threads. There's all kinds of things out there. Like, I refuse to spoil this for myself. I've been waiting to unfold with every other person watching the show. And I still was starting to think, like, I don't think so. I think that they want us to think that. I think that they're editing it that way for ratings. Like, I think that they're just I really did not actually think it was going to be Madison for some reason. I thought there was going to be like a total switcheroo at the end, or something was going to happen. But now we're at this most recent episode. David admitted, okay, that the text of the dumplings was not a text of dumplings. It was actually a text of a girl in an outfit. He says that she had sent the picture. This is where the lie is for me still. He says that he received a picture that he replied to. Now, this is why that's a lie, because when someone texts you, right, and you got your phone out and somebody texts you and you go to reply, how would you reply to the wrong person? Wouldn't you just be in the chat already? Wouldn't you already be in that person's contact? Wouldn't you already, like, reply? Wouldn't that just automatically, this is not how like texting works, especially not in 2025. So still on the theory that he never received a photo, I believe now more than ever that he saw Madison, because it has been confirmed that Madison was with Alan and Carla, random, that they had been all out, they met up for drinks, and that they were, and Carla, she was like, let's go out dancing, Carla, like after, like Alan was there with them. Alan went home because he's a normal human being, and he's like, tomorrow's a work day, I'm going to go home. And they decided to stay out, Madison and Carla, and go dancing. I would love to know like where they're dancing at in Chicago. Because again, remember, even though I'm in my Detroit hoodie today and I'm like representing, this girl lived in Chicago for 10 years. It's like in my DNA because it was my whole 20s and it was just like the most important years of my life. So I know every single place to go dancing in that town. So like I have to know where they were out dancing. I'm going to die if it's like Old Crow in Wrigleyville or something. Like I literally can't. I have to know. I've got to get on the Reddit threads, but again, I'm too scared because I don't want to get spoilers. But okay, so they're there. It's a Sunday or whatever. They meet up. They're watching the game. Carla and Madison go out dancing, and on the after party, Carla confirms, because she was one of the guests last week, that that David came to meet up with them, and she didn't really think anything of it in the beginning, but okay, Carla. I mean, obviously that is weird, but I understand like girl code. She doesn't really know what's going on. And I actually low-key think everybody hated Michelle. So I think that they were all kind of like okay with the fact and like knowing that David and Michelle weren't going to end up together anyway. So I don't think that she was an accomplice in this necessarily, but I think that she was also like, hey, like not my monkey, not my circus. Like I'm going to stay out of this. Carla says that they disappear together for 4 to 5 songs, which is anywhere from 10, 15, 20 minutes. And Madison says that she lost her phone and that they went to go look for it. And it's all coming together. Like if you're watching the after party, it's really important. The after shows for all this stuff, especially the Beverly Hills after shows, like Giving Me Life. All of these after shows are so important because you really do get the real context and the real dirt of what was going on, like the behind the scenes tea. And she says that they disappear, they go to find her phone or whatever. My guess is that when David walked in, when they were on the dance floor or wherever he came to meet up with him afterwards, he texted her he meant to text Madison, "You look so good, I want to eat you up." While they were like there together in the place, thinking Madison would be like on the dance floor and like get her phone, get that little text and like look across the room and be like, yeah, like a very flirty moment. But then when she didn't respond and David's probably sitting there like, okay, weird. He probably like opened his phone and was like, oh my God, I sent it to Michelle. And then that's when they disappeared and came up with like a plan because David was like, fuck, I have to tell Madison that I accidentally just texted Michelle and like get her advice on what to do. So I think they went outside. Madison was like, delete any evidence, get it out, like delete my number, like literally get rid of any evidence on your phone that it could potentially be me. If she asks you, if she brings it up to you, like just say, it's from your cousin or something. Like, I don't know if he thought like he deleted it or unsent it in a time that she wasn't gonna get it. Like, I'm not really sure like what he was thinking. Maybe we'll finally find out at the freaking reunion what happened. But it's very clear to me now that this text was for Madison and Carla confirming that them meeting up and them spending time together off camera. We know that they haven't been able to hang out in their respective like marriage apartments because there's cameras in there. So everyone was like, oh, she's just like going back to David and Michelle's. No, of course not, because there'd be cameras there and they'd be caught in like 2 seconds. So they must be going like when they're hooking up, if they are, I mean, David swore up and down there's been no cheating, but he's the worst liar and he's a proven liar. So I don't think that is true. I think they're probably going back to Madison's old apartment, which is probably nearby somewhere. And they're hanging out there until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I really get this whole thing going on with Madison and Alan because Alan tells her most recently, like, hey, like they haven't kissed since the wedding. And Alan is very open and honest. And he's like, wow, you're so different than what I kind of expected because in the beginning, you really came off like a very sexual energy type of person, a very open, flirty, having a couple drinks and like getting kind of woo. And like he even uses the word like on the dance floor, you tend to be like popping your booty out. And Madison gets very upset in the moment. She's like, oh my God, I always have to deal with this. Like everybody always thinks I'm just a party girl. And I have to say, like, I get it. I am a retired party girl and it's hard for me. It's hard for me, especially in Chicago. Best years of my life, living it up. Clubs, bars, happy hours, always out, music festivals, at the beach partying. Like, I get it. I am. Like, actually, Madison's the same age as me. And the fact that she's still doing this, I mean, I gave this up like a few years ago. I met my husband when I was 31. So that's when I was like, okay, it's kind of time to start hanging these boots up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, like, I think that there's this misconception that if a man doesn't want to be with you because you're out partying, that like, oh, they just don't accept you for who you are. And I think that is just a little bit delusional, like to anybody. Like we would not accept that from them. Like look at how much Kyle Cook gets shit for being still this party guy and stuff, right? Like we don't accept the men to be doing this. So like, why is it okay for women to be doing it? I just don't get it sometimes. It's like we should all have the same standards and it shouldn't really be like double standards. So I just think that the fact that the producers pretty much showed Madison coming in on the camera like 3:43 in the fucking morning. Are you kidding me? There's just no way that's not acceptable behavior. It's just not. If you're married and you have a girls' night out and you haven't seen your friends in a long time, that is one thing. If your man's not okay with you doing that, like whatever, once in a blue moon, then yes, that is a problem. If you're doing that every single night when you're supposed to be married, let's be honest, being home with your partner, prioritizing them, your priority should always be in the home. What is out there? What is out there that like, is it the drinking? Because then it's a drinking problem. Is it the attention from other males? Because then, okay, you should be married. It's like there is actually some truth and validation in not wanting your partner to be out doing those things, acting like that. And I don't think Alan is some evil troll for like not accepting that Madison wants to go out and party. I think that narrative is so fucked up and Alan's trying to get painted out as like some villain. So no, I'm really glad that the producers were like, because she tried to lie in the session with Pia and she's like, oh yeah, I don't think it's like every night. And then the producers were like, 4 nights ago, 3 nights ago, 2 nights ago, last night. Like it's every night. It's every night. So I feel bad for Alan at this point, and it's very clear that next week in this couples retreat, shit's really going to hit the fan because Michelle's also had it. She's like, I'm going to this couples retreat and I'm about to blow his ass up because I'm sick of him lying to everybody. And now she's on to Madison. Like she's like, I'm really starting to think like they work out in the gym together. Michelle, Madison would be next. Their names would be kind of next to each other in the contacts. And I think I said before, like if they put MAFS, like MAFS, Michelle, MAFS Madison or whatever, and he like screwed them up when he was texting them that night. It's very clear, like I see why she's like, could it be possibly Madison? And so she's never confronted anybody about this. She has only told MM about it. And at like a little dinner, she's like, I'm starting to think like, am I crazy? Or like, do you think there's potentially something going on with like Madison and him? Like, do you think that they're inappropriate? Do you think that they spend too much time together? Like, are they just friends? And I think MM just has the perfect response. She's like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like she kind of stays out of it. She's really just like listening to Michelle. She's like, well, why don't you just bring it up at the couples retreat? So they're at the couples retreat and they are all sitting around the table together. And it's like, okay, this is it. Like now or never, I'm bringing this text up. And so they're all kind of going over their gripes and things and their place where they're at in their marriages. And these couples retreats are really important so that they can all kind of talk about the experiment together because it is a very weird thing to go through, marrying a stranger for the first time. And so they all kind of go through their experiences. Michelle's finally like, well, I think it's no secret that obviously David and I are having a lot of struggles. He's been lying to everybody here and he's lied I think he owes everybody here an apology. And she kind of gets him to be like, I'm sorry. He has a really hard time taking accountability for this. You can tell that I think he's afraid that Madison has been like, you better not ever tell anybody or ever admit to anything. Like, do not take me down with you kind of thing. Pretend like you never met me. And so they're sitting there and you can tell that David is starting to get really uncomfortable in the moment. And then Michelle nobody saw this coming, but he's like, well, we haven't kissed since our wedding and we're not intimate or anything like that. And Michelle's like, oh, well, Madison and Alan, like, have you guys kissed since your wedding? And the second she brings up Madison, she's like, I'm shutting this down. He's like, no, we're not talking about other couples. Madison gets up and storms away from the table, goes down the hallway. And we see in next week's clip that Madison and Michelle really sit down for a one-on-one. And Michelle asks her straight up, like, was the text meant for you? And Madison, again, it's like they've had weeks to get their stories together, but she's just like, I don't think so. Like, it shouldn't have been for me. And of course, any other person would laugh it off. Like, ha, are you kidding me? Like, David, no, like, we don't talk like that. We see each other in the gym. Like, there's just other ways and an authentic response would come out. But just the fact that she is like hesitant to answer and gives kind of like a vague response, it looks like shit's about to come out because David's going to be admitting to Alan next week that he's very close with Madison. And he uses the words, Madison knows more about me than my actual wife does. Alan goes in, starts punching things, throwing cups. We did it, y'all. We made it to the head of this. We are finally going to see what's unfolding. And I'm really curious to just watch the rest of this unfold. And there's also starting to think that like now that Ikechi, which I've seen people calling him Ick and like Icky Ike online. I'm kind of love Ick-Ichi or Yuckichi. I'm loving the nicknames for him because he is disgusting too. The way he comes in and serves those stupid divorce papers to her. And she's like, this is literally page 1 of 4. Like, I don't even have a place to sign. Please get out of my face. Such a flop. Potential for Alan and MM to get together. I think that is where the wife swap situation could come in there because I think she comforts him when all this shit goes down. So holy shit, MAFS is popping off. Please go watch Married at First Sight if you're not. I don't want this season to end, which is so sad because I barely wanted it to start, but here we are. It's a good one. Let's take a quick break and we'll break down the rest of my countdown. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Let's move right along here. Moving into my number 3 most talked about moment. We're going to talk about the Real Housewives of New York reunion and specifically the casting rumors because, again, I've got to get on my soapbox for a minute here. So let's first discuss the fact that Becky Minkoff has announced her very controversial, I guess, absence or her decision to leave amongst, basically she's not coming back for another season. And nobody was really surprised. But I do have to say what I am surprised about is the fact that We didn't really discuss anything about her just dynamic in the group at all. She just got grilled about Scientology, which I think is crazy. I think that it's very clear that they brought her on to do the show for one reason. They were like, okay, we're going to get her on there. We're going to get her to talk about Scientology. It's very controversial and we're going to have a lot of conflict. I think sometimes they bring these friend ofs on to be somebody that everyone throws under the bus, almost like a common enemy. And I think that they were expecting her to like come on this season and kind of like use her to move along some storyline and whatnot. Now, we know that her first fireable offense was the fact that she came up with that prank with Aaron, which I still believe was Aaron's idea, because we have now seen for 2 seasons, she thinks she's a freaking crank yanker. She thinks that she is Ashton Kutcher. She's out here doing pranks every other episode, and I've had enough. So I really don't blame Becky for the prank about the pregnancy stuff, because I think that was Aaron's idea, and I think that they concocted that together, and then she just took the fall for it, and Aaron totally just let her, which is really disappointing. Karen, I love that I called her that because I was thinking Karen in my head, but really it's Aaron. Aaron is a Karen. She is. Maybe that's why I get so triggered by her, because I have a little bit of Karen in me. But I just really do not appreciate the way that she deflects everything back on the other person. She truly does not ever take accountability. She has no self-awareness. And I just don't like when people, I pray to God, I know that this is a little bit insensitive, but I really hope she didn't just like have a 4th baby so that she would have like more storyline and like so that nobody would come for her, because I do think sometimes that does work. I think that these people know like going against a pregnant woman is disgusting, which is why I get a lot of hate sometimes, because I'm like, it's not a pass, especially if you're on reality TV. Like, just because you're now pregnant doesn't mean we can't talk about all the shit you did last season. Like, you don't get a pass. So I think that she knew what she was doing with that. I think it actually had more to do with her father passing away and her probably feeling like she wanted to still expand their family. And then her and Abe have been together for like over 10 years. So maybe it's something to do with their marriage. I mean, who has 4 kids in 2025? It's just, wow, it's a choice. But hey, they can afford it. They're giving their kids a great life. It really has nothing to do with the children. I just think it's like an interesting choice sometimes, because it's like in this economy, in this America, but she's a Trumper. So she doesn't really see any problem, I think, with the administration and the way that the world is. So hopefully she better hope that her kids, I'm not even going to say it. So I'm going to bite the tongue sometimes. I know that I always preach like, this is my podcast, I'm going to say it, but I do know where to draw the line. So, okay. So Becky announced that she's leaving. Again, least exciting news ever, but I actually am disappointed, because I agree with her in the fact that just because she's a Scientologist doesn't mean she shouldn't be on TV. That is religious discrimination. I mean, if you're going to fire her for other reasons, sure. But I think that the fact that she identifies as this type of religion is interesting to me. And I think that if she would have had a little bit of a line of questioning that wasn't Bryn's hater ass coming in and like making fun of her and using her to be a punching bag, that it would have been more of a safe space. And that's what she said. She's like, I didn't come on to like hide that part of my life. I would have been so happy to talk about it, and we would have actually got some juice. But there's just no way that she was going to do that in an environment like that, because those women are vultures and they do not create an environment that's open to sharing. So they weaponize everything they tell each other. They turn everything around to make themselves the victim in something. They're the most unappealing group of people I've ever had to watch. I know I went on and on about, if you don't watch all the shows and you don't support, like, how could you even be a real fan? Even if I hate it, I will watch and comment because I have to. It's like in my DNA now. But I don't like them. I truly have to say that I hate them. Like, I hate this group of women. They bring absolutely nothing to the table. Nothing. There is not a single storyline, I would think, besides, I think Raquel is the saving grace. her and Mel and her sharing about her mom and her talking about her divorce that was very public and how she also was married to a man. Like, this stuff is very interesting. If Jenna was giving what Raquel was giving, they would be equally iconic and we could really build the show around them. But unfortunately, we're not getting like that level of authenticity from everybody. And I think Jenna's been really pushed to open up next season. I am hopeful that she is coming back for a third season. I think she actually likes being a housewife, believe it or not. People are like, oh, she hates it. I think she likes it. I think that she's enjoying having this group of women. I think that she's enjoying being on TV. I mean, we all know that the paycheck is great. I don't think that she's necessarily dying for it, but I think that she wouldn't mind it. And it's a very easy show for her to film because everybody likes her. I think that Sai coming in this season, and she was trying to build a feud with Jenna, and it just totally bombed. And Sai ended up like not like, it's like if you're gonna do it and you're gonna be the villain, you gotta go all in. And Sai backpedaled after season 1, and she didn't want to be known as the villain, and she didn't want to have the blood on her hands of being the one to go after Jenna. So she really cowered, and I think that was like her moment to rise up and like give us something. But Jenna's just too damn likable, and I do agree. If I had to choose who to come back, I would choose Jenna to come back next season versus Sai. Again, unless Sai is really going to talk about what's going on with her family, or how she met her husband and everything like that. I think that's like the most interesting part about her, and she's never going to share it. So I just don't understand like how she could be on the show. I actually really like David. I think he's probably one of like the coolest husbands, but we never see them and we never film with any of the husbands on RHONY. And I think that's like some of my favorite parts of the other shows. Salt Lake City, even Jersey. I mean, what would be Teresa without like Louis drama? Like, I think that it's essential. What would Real Houses of Miami be if we weren't talking about Todd and we weren't talking about Lenny? It's like the husbands and the marriages and the divorces and the dynamics of the children, like that is housewives to me, not just fighting and bickering and gossiping, which is what they're trying to turn RHONY into, which is why it's failing. And when it comes to these casting rumors, I just can never say it enough. Keep Paige, Amanda, and Sierra away from RHONY. Hear me, hear my cries. They are bed bugs. They literally have the personalities of a piece of paper. Like I would never watch any of them if they weren't in a house with the other people that are dynamic that they're playing off of. They're just not that interesting. Every single one of them rants and raves about how when they're not filming, they're home alone. They don't even hang out, the three of them together off camera. I haven't seen Amanda and Paige and Sierra like going out together in the city like ever, unless it's like somebody's birthday. Like Amanda is home with the dogs with Kyle. Paige is on tour with Hannah, doing business things, being a boss. She wants to be, when she's like, oh, I'm just going to apologize for being a strong, independent woman. It's like, oh yeah, Paige, you really work so hard. Like, you do a podcast. I just can't. She acts like she's out here doing like brain surgery every day. And then, which is like whatever. And of course it's Giggly Squad it's like, oh yes, I'm sure touring is very taxing on you, but like you're literally going on stage for an hour every night to talk about yourself. It's like your favorite thing to do. So again, I'm not going to praise her for like, she didn't like cure cancer or anything. She's not some like genius. Cool. You guys created a podcast. Congrats on your success. And then when it comes to Sierra, talk about like, even on the Traitors, everyone's like, oh yeah, Sierra. No, she is one of the most uncharismatic, unhappy. Everyone talks about their favorite scenes of her in Summer House when she like dresses up in a costume. Lay sigh. If your whole personality is dressing up in a costume once a summer, she's a beautiful girl. Absolutely fucking stunning. Victoria's Secret model. Gorgeous influencer. Reality TV star? Not. I'm just had enough. It is time for Summer House to end. I'm calling for it. I'm calling for the end of it now. I think they're going to squeeze out a 10th season as a finale season. Just like with Vanderpump, it will get fired, rebooted, maybe keep Jesse and West. It's time. It is time to put them out to pasture. It is time. So I don't know how I got off on a Summer House tangent. Oh yeah, because talking about RHONY casting rumors. So again, what I'm really asking for these casting rumors is for them to fire Brynn. I think Uma's going to leave. I would like to see Jenna come back. I would like to see Jessel come back. I think that there's a genuine something there. I know they're bringing Karen back. Karen Aaron. I know they're bringing her back. They've been trying to make her the center fucking apple for 2 seasons. I know that it's Andy's. That's Andy's like favorite person in the world. She's not going anywhere. I'm going to have to live with it. But I know, okay, fine. I do think Uba's going to leave because she's in Connecticut now. I'm so sick of people. And when the Shed casting rumors were out, they were like, you don't have to live in New York. Why are we casting women that don't live in New York? It just is like, this is why the show's not working, you guys. Like, find real people that live there, real groups of friends. I'm sure Erin knows crazy ass moms from her kids' private school. Jessel is literally a PR. She's got to know tons of crazy people from the fashion world, from the PR world. Like, where are the real people that live in the city and have friends and are real people? Where are they? Sai is a real person. She's just not that fun to watch. So if she had any friends, does she just have no friends? Sai, bring a friend, recommend somebody. We got to get this show firing on all cylinders. Okay? We got to. Let's move on to my number 2 most talked about moment of the week. It was just announced today. It's hitting the waves. Madison LaCroix is pregnant. And I'm very excited about this because even though I'm like the biggest Madison fan ever, I think there is something so endearing about people that really want to be a mom, that are so in love, that want to bring a baby into this world out of love and for all the right reasons, who I know and trust to be a good mother. Madison is one of those people. She is like a reliable person. I think that she's a good person. She's a good head on her shoulders. She's successful. She's a family gal. She, to me, is like the whole package. Beautiful, smart, everything. I really like her. My favorite part about Madison is that she has been able to bury the hatchet with Austin this year. She's not dragging this out. Everybody online still hates Austin for her. They still talk about him doing her dirty and stuff. We know. They show that clip of him cheating on her every single episode, which I think is kind of hilarious. But if Madison can move on, can't we? Can't we all move on from that? Can we all see that he has somewhat grown and evolved because he's got this girlfriend now that he doesn't seem to be cheating on? I haven't heard any blind rumors. I haven't seen him out and done anything. I mean, Paige has more cheating rumors than Austin does at this point. So I think that there's a lot of validity in what Austin was saying this season, and Madison sees that. I think Austin has been able to, maybe he wasn't always his best person. Maybe he does still go out and have some substance abuse issues that Craig likes to, out by saying that he's like partying all night and then using downers the next day to come down. Like, that's not cool. It happens. I don't like that. That's like for Austin to tell us, not Craig. When Craig exposed his substance abuse issues, that was on his own terms. Like, he decided to tell us that. So I think that's kind of like messed up that he decided to tell everybody on camera that, but whatever. And I think that it's totally valid that Austin was like, bro, like, you are just not yourself anymore. Like, you're totally changing your entire personality. You're social distancing from us. When you are with us, you're snippy and you're whatever, and you think you're above everybody. And I think that all that stuff was kind of valid about Craig. I am no Craig apologist. I think that he really did not have his best season, not just on the show, but in life. I think that everybody around him saw that he was desperate to make things work with Paige. And he was like, okay, I'll quit drinking. Okay, I'll stop hanging out with my friends. Okay, I'll buy a house and I'll just like sit there every weekend and wait for you. Okay, I will kick Austin off the podcast because he doesn't like you and he's causing a wedge between us. It's like he was doing all of these things for her. And I don't think that that's Paige's fault either. I think that he was trying to show good faith, but that the fact that Paige was basically telling him in so many words, I don't want a future with you. I don't want to be hanging out at your house every weekend in South Carolina. I don't want to, move forward in a lot of these ways, like freezing your sperm, etc. The way that she would react to him saying these hopeful things to her when he literally sits her down and he's like, I want a house and a wife and children. And her response was, yuck. I mean, Craig chose not to believe that Paige wasn't that into him. Like, she wasn't that into you. It's beknownst to me why she did stay in the relationship that long. If she like didn't like him, if she spent a year of the relationship hating him, just break up with him. But it comes out, I think, in Summer House, the reason why she didn't break up with Craig earlier is because she was afraid of the fandom turning on her and ruining the Giggly Squad tour. It was very Justin Timberlake of her. Like, this is going to ruin the tour. We break up before I go on this tour. Everyone, not everyone, a lot of the gigglers are supporting her, but a lot of people do not, if the ticket sales are down 25% or whatever, it's not going to be these sold out shows that she loves to tout and stuff. So, and I also think Giggly Squad is half of Hannah. I usually only listened for Hannah. I think Hannah is actually very self-aware now and has reflected a lot on her Bravo career and has been like, wow, I was a monster. And like, I didn't even like myself. So I appreciate that Hannah can be like self-deprecating like that. And I liked their relationship together, how they would play off of each other. But I would never listen to a Paige podcast. Like, she's a kind of insufferable to me. She just always seems so negative and miserable and complaining and high maintenance. And it's just not my type of chick. So when I went to a Giggly Squad, I've been to 3 Giggly Squad shows. So again, like when you guys are like, oh, you're some cray. It's like, no, I've supported Paige all of these years. They've given her my money before. I went to a show in Florida, went to a show in Long Island. Like when I was at the Long Island show, I was like, I'm going to ask a question. Like I want to just like have an interaction with them and see what happens. And to this day, like I cannot remember what I asked her. I got up to the mic and I believe at the time I asked her something about filming for Southern Charm because it was like the summer. It was something about that. Like this was a while ago. And she basically said to me, like, she basically gave me a non-answer and was like, and just like shut me down and was like, I'm not here to answer questions about Craig or something. But it's like, I didn't ask you about Craig. I asked you about Southern Charm. Like it was something like that. And ever since that day, I pretty much was like, okay, I've like had enough of this bitch because honestly, the fans need to mean something to everyone. Like I go to BravoCon, Bravo Fan Fest, all these places. I meet these people. Like I really am into the fact that a lot of the Bravo celebrities are so gracious to the Bravo fans and that they really love us for supporting them. And I really dislike the way that she just assumes and just, it's almost like an entitled, like, of course, everyone's going to love me. And I think that you should have to like work for it a little bit and interact. And she famously will talk about like not really enjoying doing the meet and greets and not wanting, it's just, I don't know. I just don't get all of this stuff with that. So Craig, today, the Southern Charm reunion is filming. It's 5:00 right now. So I think that they're probably still filming slightly like, or wrapping up soon. And hold on, we got a little Candy interlude here because she's got to get up. Can you say hi to everybody? Say hello. Okay, let's move you over here. There we go. Let's move you off camera. So the Southern Charm reunion is filming now. It's going to be wrapping up soon. Craig will be on Watch What Happens Live tonight. And Andy says, I got a lot of questions for you, Craig. Like, I hope you're ready for Watch What Happens Live tonight because I got to get to the bottom of some of this stuff. A lot of people are roasting Craig for lying the last time he was on Watch What Happens Live. But Andy asked him about Paige and he was like, Paige and I are we're in a good place right now. We're understanding we both have like our own thing going on and, all of the engagement stuff is on pause and we're just like happy being where we are. And so it's kind of like a lie, but it wasn't like he was like, oh my God, Paige and I'm going to be proposing next month. Like people act like he was on there like lying some insane way or whatever. Then Paige goes on Giggly Squad and she says, I gave Craig permission to kind of handle the breakup how he wanted. Basically, she was too scared to tell everybody. So you handle it, Craig, but like you handle it the way you want to. Like you tell people the way you want to, but and she kind of like left the ball in his court. In that little bit of space between Thanksgiving and Christmas or New Year's Christmas, Craig went to Aspen with some mutual friends of him and Paige's. And when Paige saw that Craig was out acting single, as she put it, that was when she took the signal like, okay, he's now starting to go out and like be out there as a single person because he's obviously out in Aspen and I'm not with him and people are going to be questioning why I'm not there, which she could have just said she was busy with Giggly Squad. But she pretty much was like, yeah, he started acting single. That's when I decided to then go on Giggly Squad and do the official announcement of us breaking up. So then she goes on Giggly Squad, blah, 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 tells everybody it's mutual, all this stuff. And then it was like, 3 or 4 days later that Craig then did that Instagram face to camera story where he was like, okay, yes, just want to get on here and address the official announcement that's been put out there. Like, Paige and I have broken up. And he specifically says, please be kind to Paige. Please understand that this is like a difficult time for us, etc. Then for Paige to go on and say that she, or Amanda Batula too, can seriously shut her mouth, because for her to be like, oh, Craig sent all of his like fans after Paige, it's just not true. Like, Craig didn't send any, he, if anything, has been defending her, protecting her, and giving up his entire life for her. And like, especially on camera and all this stuff, like never saying like a bad word about her, totally defending like all the choices that she's making that look crazy to everybody else. And then for Amanda to say that, it's like, literally, you don't know anything. Like, shut up. Like, I hate when girls just like chime in and like are like, I gotta support my friend. It's like, this is just enough. Like, Amanda never, or Paige never defended Kyle for you. She didn't. She fucking hates your husband. So why are you out here like, I just cannot. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's like they just have some kind of alliance. I don't know if Amanda is just so delusional that she thinks that that's like how things went down. But Craig has been very like, he hasn't said anything. He hasn't trashed Paige at all. And I'm really hoping that he goes and watches What Happens Live tonight and just like lets it rip. Just like end the facade, because it's very clear that this woman hated you. And now she's like out here like playing on you. Like, I don't think that he needs to like go for anything personal, but I think he needs to finally be like, okay, yeah, it was really hard for me the way she spoke to me. She spoke down to me. She always made me feel like I was belittled. And it's like, finally tell us who the real Paige is, like expose her. And I know everyone's going to say that Craig's just lying or whatever, but I don't know. I don't really see like, I know that he's lied in the past. I'm not saying that he hasn't lied before. I just don't think that the way that this went down was like a lie. So we're going to have to wait and see the reunion. I think that's why Madison announced that she was pregnant today online, because they did the reunion. She probably showed up and told them all. And then they released the clear blue statement on Instagram. That was the, once she tells people to the reunion, it's going to get leaked from set. There's people there working the cameras, there's makeup artists, there's all kinds of people that are there. So it's like, once you say it, once people see you, they're going to know. So I think that that's why that was announced today. I'm excited to see the reunion. I'm really curious to see that this way that this plays out, because it was like all is fair in love and war, and like Dorit and PK, like they should go to war. Go to freaking war. I would like to see Craig with Sally. People are saying Rachel Kirkconnell. I don't think so. Maybe. But I would like to see him with Sally. Another rumor that came out of the Southern Charm reunion today was that Molly had a boyfriend the entire time she was filming, and that she potentially cheated on the boyfriend with Shep. So we're going to have to see about that too. The tea be spilling. So, okay, let's move on to my number one most talked about moment of the week, you guys. We have made it. I said I wasn't going to do 2 hours, but we're at 1 hour and 30 minutes. So let's get right into it. The number one most talked about moment of the week is the Lindsay breakup rumors. Another thing that just broke today that I had to come hop on the mic and discuss, because you guys, if you guys remember, my 2025 New Year's resolution was to not discuss Lindsay, the baby, and the baby daddy any longer. But like when it's out here like this, like I can't, I'm insatiable. I can't help but talk about it. And when the rumors are like this good, I gotta just like use my space here to discuss. So I woke up today, 7:47 in the morning. The Access Hollywood Housewives nightcap with Lauren Herbert, Emily Orozco. I met them in Miami. They're so sweet, like truly so funny and down to earth girls. Like I wasn't expecting that from them. I thought they were going to be really like media NYC type girlies, and they are just so genuine and authentic. I really, really like them. I like their podcast. They have a good way of kissing their guests' ass. I have to be honest. Like sometimes it's really cheesy, but then also asking some hard questions. And I think it's like that Oreo approach of like, okay, I'm going to give you like a lot of compliments, but I'm also going to like come in and ask you some hard hitting questions. And then I'm going to end with compliments, because that's what we do, right? Like that's like the corporate thing to do, is like, we're going to end on a good note, right? I'm going to give you bad news, Everyone's getting fired, but guess what? I'm taking everybody to a retreat or whatever. Like that's just a very corporate way of things. And this is a very corporate Hollywood, Access Hollywood corporate podcast. Like they have real jobs. They can't just be out here like me, like running their mouth. So they have to protect themselves. And having somebody like Lindsay on the podcast, I'm sure cannot be easy. I mean, first of all, she's PR trained. So it's like, are we ever really getting the real answer? Like, is she putting her spin on things? Like, what is the real truth? And I think they did a really good job today of asking her questions that ended up getting some very controversial answers. Now, the thing about Emily and Lauren just got married in the last 6 months, and Emily just got engaged. So Lindsay's coming into this situation, right? 3 girls in love. Like you just had a baby. You just had and Emily and Lauren are really asking her a lot about getting engaged and what did the future look like with your boyfriend? And are you guys going to move in together? And, our wedding bell is going to be in the future. And unbeknownst to them, at the same time, Dumois was putting out her podcast with a very conflicting story that a blind had been released to her. Or actually, you can't even call it a blind because I guess it was a reputable source, which I think has got to be Danielle. I think Danielle is always behind anything that ever comes out about Lindsay. I do. I think that her silent secret revenge is her basically being like, I'm going to just always leak stuff to the press. We know that Danielle is the one that leaked the story about Craig getting kicked out of Paige and Amanda and Kyle's wedding. And remember, like that article was written and they still brought it up at like last year's reunion because Lindsay threw Danielle under the bus and told everybody that Danielle was the one that leaked that story so that Paige would like Lindsay again. Oh my gosh. I mean, that was good TV. Like that was good TV, but I don't like that because I love Danielle. I do. And I just think that she didn't deserve that. I think that was like so insane. So the fact that I just think that she's getting like her secret revenge on Lindsay still and probably heard something or saw something or who really knows what the truth is. But yeah, I believe that some of these rumors came from the LA fire fundraiser that Kyle DJ'd. And it was like star-studded, Dorinda, Melissa Gorga, all the people from Summer House, Andrea Lopez, the comedian that does Teresa. Like it was a lot of people that were there. But Lindsay was not there. Noticeably missing, Lindsay was not there. And in my head, I thought like Lindsay does not ever miss an opportunity to go to these events. I think she has FOMO. I think that she, thinks that if everyone's going to be there without her, like she's going to get like ostracized from the group. I think that she kind of like moves that way. I just think that somehow, some way, it just, to me, that's connected to this because when I start thinking like, okay, why wasn't Lindsay there? Like, did Lindsay, like, could Turner not stay home with the baby that night so that Lindsay could like go see her friends? Of course, Lindsay is a big draw because the point of all of these other Bravo celebrities and people signing up was it's like the more people that are on the bill, it's like a music festival. The more people that you want to see that are on the bill, the more likely you're going to be to buy a ticket and go. And Lindsay is a very influential person in New York City, and she has a lot of fans. I'm not sure why, but she does. And I think that if she would have been on the bill, it would have drew in more people to come give and donate money. Maybe Lindsay didn't donate herself. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. And maybe it led to a lot of people being like, okay, why isn't Lindsay here? Like, where is Lindsay? Like, why couldn't Turner just stay home? Like, Lindsay deserves to have a night out too, right? Like, she can't always be home with the baby. Like, I think that it kind of opened this conversation about why she wasn't there. And then what I'm guessing and assuming it led to was the fact that, okay, how come they haven't moved in together? Like the baby's here now. It's really like, how do you co-parent when you're not living in the same building space? I don't even know how far away they live from each other in town. Like just because they're both in New York City, like they could be an hour away from each other still. So unclear how far away they live from each other. It was just kind of like, and then also it wasn't a filmed event. So like, why couldn't he come with her and support? Why couldn't they get like a sitter for the night? Like, there's just a lot of questions. Like, why couldn't she be there? And I think what it kind of led to, what I'm guessing, like in my little fan fiction brain, there was a conversation between Lindsay and Turner that was like, why do you feel the need to like still, like, you have a baby now? You should want to stay home with your baby instead of going to like these events and being part of this world still and like being part of Summer House, because Lindsay has been very clear since day one that this guy does not want his picture shown. She still has to put like, you know, if she posts anything of him, has to like hide all of his details, even though we have all seen him and know his name now. She, you know, has been very open and honest about him not wanting to film, obviously, and not wanting the baby to film. The baby will not be going to the Summer House. That baby will not be filming any future episodes of RHONY should she get cast. That baby is never going to be on camera until it turns 18. If you guys remember Tamra, when she went through her divorce with Simon, he was like, those children are never filming. And it tore Tamra apart, because Tamra is a lot like Lindsay, where being a reality TV star is her whole identity. The Bravo world means everything to her. She doesn't want to lose her job because she's not sharing everything. And a lot of people will call for her firing. So I think that there was like a panic that set in. And it led to a bigger conversation of, hey, this is one event that's not even being filmed or whatever. It's not like it's part of her job to go. Now, if you're already acting like you have to leave your newborn home to go to this, what's going to happen this summer? Like, are you going to go back to the Summer House if they ask you? Like, you know, you can't take Gemma. Like, I think that this led to probably a bigger conversation. And I don't know if she thought that she was just going to like wear him down or get him to change his mind, or like maybe once the baby come, it would be different. Or maybe she didn't realize that you don't get to, it's not like, oh, if we have 50-50 custody, like, okay, 50% of the time I have her, she can like film. No, like both parents have to sign off, and he will never sign off. Like, this man wants nothing to do with any of this. And his daughters, certainly, until she's 18, won't either. So I just think that this led to a bigger conversation. And you can tell with Emily and Lauren as they're interviewing her, they're kind of like getting these answers out of her. And Lindsay's like, you know what? I've put all of marriage and everything like on the back burner. Like, I'm not really like focused on that or getting engaged or anything like that. And I mean, I do, unfortunately, of course, if Turner asked her, she would say yes, right? Like, there's no way she wouldn't. This is the father of her child now. She obviously saw something that she liked in him. I mean, they dated, they went on like 3 dates before she got pregnant. So she must have been attracted to him and stuff. And we know that he's very successful. So it's very clear to me, I think, that they just are not seeing eye to eye. He's not moving in with her. I think he's seen that she really, really wants to be on TV still. I don't think that he realized how hungry she is for that and like needing that validation and needing that attention from the Bravo fans and, you know, having this career doing that. Because again, when Lindsay was fighting with Carl last season about what's your job going to be after the show and what's your real career and all of this stuff, I think that she was really thinking like, you better get your shit together because I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom and you need to be working and the show's not going to last forever. And now that karma has really turned on her, because now her show, she's not guaranteed a spot back. She's not, I mean, if she still chooses to do Summer House, I think that is so distasteful. I'm sorry, because that would mean that she would have to leave this child to do it. And that's going to cause some generational trauma. Don't forget that Lindsay's whole thing is like her abandonment issues. So if she's going to do the same thing to her kid, that's so messed up. I'm not even going to put that, I'm going to assume that she's a better person than that. I have to give her some credit. So I think that she's probably coming to the terms of the fact that that show could be ending for her. That career could be ending for her. And I think she's probably thinking like, I've got to get like my shit together, because she better get that PR firm fired up. She better get Hubhouse Media website.com going again. She's going to be going back to work, because yes, Turner will be paying her child support and stuff like that. But New York is a very, very expensive city to live in. And there's just not enough to live on for when you're getting a certain amount. Now, I don't know how much this guy, you know, of course, is worth. Again, child support gets figured out in court. So I don't know if they just have like a settlement agreement that he pays for all the things for the child. And then maybe they don't have to go to court to be able to have a co-parenting agreement. But it's not that easy. And with the way that Lindsay is, who is very vindictive and loves to villainize all of the men in her life, I foresee this coming from a million miles away. It's going to be, he didn't support me going on the show. It's going to be, he didn't want me to be my authentic self. It's going to be, he didn't understand the reality TV world. There's going to be all of these reasons why Turner's like not a good guy and why everybody should turn on him. And he was so smart. Talk about the smartest man in America. Make that man the president. He knew right away, like, I am not just going to like roll over and just let you like control everything. And I appreciate that about him because I think that's really what Lindsay needed. She really needed somebody to like stand up to her and kind of force her to grow and evolve. And I'm so curious like how this is all going to play out because, you know, Carl was on the Vile Files and he was giving a really authentic interview, talking a lot about his addiction, talking a lot about his relationship with his family, his brother's passing. And he was very, you know, he's always so gracious to Lindsay. Like, this woman deserves nothing. She literally tears him apart every single chance that she can get. And every single time he's asked about her, he never goes low. He is like the Michelle Obama of the Bravo world. Like, when they go low, he goes high. He always is just like, you know what? It didn't work, but I know that he's got to be home today. Just like laughing a little bit, just a little bit of I told you so. Because I think she really thought she was going to like not trap this man, but you know, get this man to put a ring on it just because she's Lindsay Hubbard, get him to shell out a bunch of money for her because he's successful and she got pregnant by him. Like, it's just like, I see that the plan is being foiled a little bit. And because of the comment that she made today where she said, yeah, Turner was really great during the pregnancy. He was there every day, especially the last month, because we didn't know if like, the baby would come early or come late. He was very supportive. She goes, but then, you know, the baby came and he had some paternity leave and now he's back to work and it's just Gemma and I. And just the way of her saying that, like, okay, now the baby's here and he still hasn't moved in with me and he still doesn't want to marry me. And the way then that coupled with the breakup rumors, it's just very clear to me that he is like probably seen, you know, been with her for a year now because she got pregnant last March. So he's spent the last 11 months with her. I don't know if she like hasn't been drinking this entire time, if she was pregnant, having the baby, breastfeeding potentially. And then maybe she's started drinking again. I mean, whatever. These are all things that we speculate as being Bravo content creators. But I'm really curious to see the way that she's going to spin this and what the truth is and how she's going to talk about Turner. And I really am praying that she doesn't perpetuate a bunch of generational trauma by villainizing the dad and then Gemma not having two parents in her life the way that Lindsay didn't. So I'm really sorry to anybody who's listening to this and thinks that this is very insensitive and harsh, but this is just real thoughts about the way that I think about this and being able to call people out on BS that doesn't have like blind loyalty to people. So I just am really going to be watching closely to see what goes on. But congratulations to Madison on her baby. I don't trust men from Utah as far as I can throw them, but I'm really glad that she found somebody that she loves. And I'm hoping that her and Brett are now living together full time also, because they were also not living full time. He was still living in Utah and like commuting back and forth. So I'm hoping now that she's pregnant that he makes the move to Charleston to be with her. Especially with all of his recent health stuff. So okay, yeah, that was pretty much it. Anything else to say about Lindsay? I'm trying to think before I hang up. Just that I think that there's a potential for her to go on RHONY now, because I was saying before there's no way that she would film for RHONY because she can't film the baby. But I still think that there would be room for her to be like a friend of, because then you don't really have to show your kids. She can talk about Gemma all she wants. She can't show her though. And then if she has all this drama with Turner that she also talks about on the show, because if she's not worrying about saving face for him and she's not worrying about upsetting him because then he won't marry her, etc., she might be willing to basically just like trash this man and go on TV. And I could see her throwing him under the bus for a spot on RHONY. The girls on Access Hollywood were also like, oh my God, we need you on RHONY. We need you on RHONY. And like really kissing her ass to get her on there. And like, for whatever reason, I think at this point, as long as it's not Paige, Amanda, or Sierra, I'll be happy. So I would take that as long as she's going to talk about her real life and she's going to, continue to be authentic. So, okay, everybody, I'm going to leave you with that. I had so much fun catching up with you all this week, and stay tuned. I've been teasing for a long time, ramping up the pod. So I'm moving back to New York permanently on March 3rd. I cannot freaking wait. Me and the husband are buying a new home. I'm going to have a studio in the house. I'm going to be really ramping up the podcast and getting more guests. I just travel too much and have too much company right now to really be working with other people's schedules, because I really jump on like whatever. I get like a minute to just do this by myself. But as we start to develop, and especially as we ramp up to BravoCon, do not forget to be sharing the podcast with your friends and getting other people to follow and listen, because I will be giving away one ticket to BravoCon this year for one of my Bellas. You have to be following the podcast and be like a real follower and be somebody that, I'll be doing more of the details of the giveaway over the summer. The tickets aren't even on sale yet. But yeah, make sure that you're stay tuned if you want to win a ticket to BravoCon. So, okay, you guys, I will leave you with that. Make sure you watch Traitors tonight and Southern Hospitality Week. We didn't get to talk about this week. We didn't get to talk about The Bachelor. I'll be back next week talking about that. And we didn't really get to talk about the Salt Lake City reunion. To be honest, part 3 didn't really give me a lot. I'll just say my favorite part of the reunion was Mary going after Meredith for talking to Jen Shaw. I thought that was crazy. So I'm glad that Mary was like, absolutely fucking not. This lady's like not coming back to the show. So, okay. All right, you guys, I'll leave you with that. Have a great weekend. Ciao, Bellas.